Devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantu vaha parasparam bhavayantah shreya paramapsyata. The demigods being pleased by sacrifices will also please you, and thus by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. Purport: the demigods are empowered administrators of material affairs. The supply of air, light, water, and all other benedictions for maintaining the body and soul of every living entity is entrusted to the demigods, who are innumerable assistants. Please note this: assistants in the different parts of the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In different parts of the body means this is in the universal form. Their pleasures and displeasures are dependent on the performance of yagnas by the human being. This is very important. So they are the assistants. They are in charge of different departments. But for them to bestow their benedictions on humanity, human beings have to please them. And how do they please them? By doing yagna. If they don't do yagna, then they displease them. And we know what happens when demigods become displeased, right? So they create havoc because they are in charge of all the natural phenomena, right? So some of the yagnas are meant to satisfy particular demigods, but even in so doing, Lord Vishnu is worshipped in all yagnas as the chief beneficiary. So even though the demigods are worshipped, finally it is understood that everything goes to Vishnu because he is the final beneficiary. It is stated also in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna himself is a beneficiary of all kinds of yagnas, bhoktaram yagna tapasam. Therefore, the ultimate satisfaction of yagnapati is the chief purpose of all yagnas. When these yagnas are perfectly performed naturally, the demigods in charge of the different departments of supply are pleased, and there is no scarcity in supply of natural products. Performance of yagnas has many side effects, ultimately leading to liberation from material bondage. This is very nice. By performance of yagnas, all activities become purified, as it is stated in Vedas. Ahara shuddhau sattva shuddhihi sattva shuddhau dhruva smritihi smriti lambe sarva granthi nam vipramokshaha. By performance of yagna, one's eatables become sanctified. By eating sanctified footsteps, one's very existence becomes purified. The purification of existence, finer tissues in the memory become sanctified. And when memory is sanctified, one can think of the path of liberation. And all these combined together lead to Krishna consciousness, the great necessity of present day society. So here, for those who are not devotees of Krishna or Vishnu, they have to worship different demigods. They have to do different yagnas to please different demigods. This is all in the varnashrama, based on different varna and ashrama, based on their gunas, right? Like people who are in Tamoguna worship Devi, Shiva, Rajoguna worship Brahma, Satvaguna worship Vishnu, right? And for each of them, they are given their own yagnas that have to be performed, etc., etc. But even those who worship in lower modes, they know that the chief beneficiary is Vishnu, which because at the end of the yagna, they'll say Krishna Arpanamastu. Because they know that finally it is he who has to, give all the outcome of that yagna. But what is the benefit of doing yagna? This is very nice. Apart from demigods being pleased by the performance of yagna, it says there are many side effects. So by performing yagna, one's eatables become sanctified. So we take prasadam. This is by offering to the Lord. So eatables are sanctified. Then by eating sanctified footsteps, one's very existence becomes purified. So we become pure in the way we live, the way we think, etc. As we eat more prasadam for more and more time. Then when we become pure, then our fine tissues in our memory become sanctified. They become clean of all the dirt. Then one can think of path of liberation. And all these combined together lead to Krishna consciousness. So by doing yagna, actually one can also become Krishna conscious. That is why Varnashrama also, the ultimate goal of Varnashrama is to Vishnu Aradhyate, is to worship Vishnu. Because yagna will finally bring one to Krishna consciousness, right? Or worship Vishnu Tattva, Krishna. So these yagnas also, apart from pleasing demigods, they were helping people to come to the ultimate goal of life, which is to serve the Supreme Lord. So Varnashrama had all this designed, well-designed systems, so that people don't lose focus in their life and finally come to the ultimate goal. So Vishnu is also called Yagnapati. 3.12. Ishthan bhogani vo deva dasyante yagna bhavita tairadattana pradayepyo yo punktestena eva saha. In charge of various necessities of life, the demigods being satisfied by the performance of yagna, sacrifice, will supply all necessities to you, but he who enjoys such gifts without offering them to the demigod in return is certainly a thief. So which is why material human life without Krishna consciousness is super dangerous, because we are taking all these things from demigods like air, water, fire, etc. But if we don't offer them in return, then we will be considered a thief. Of course, by doing Sankirtana Yagna, everybody is satisfied. So we don't have to separately take care of pleasing demigods. The demigods are authorized supplying agents on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. Therefore, they must be satisfied by the performance of different yagnas. Prabhupada is saying they must be satisfied. In the Vedas, there are different kinds of yagnas prescribed for different kinds of demigods, but all are ultimately offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For one who cannot understand what the Personality of Godhead is, sacrifice to the demigods is recommended. So if somebody is not a worshipper of the Supreme Lord, then they should worship the demigods, because otherwise is animalistic life. According to the different material qualities of the persons concerned, different types of yagnas are recommended in the Vedas. Worship of different demigods is also on the same basis, namely according to different qualities. We already discussed this. For example, meat eaters are recommended to worship the goddess Kali, the ghastly form of material nature. And before the goddess, the sacrifice of animals is recommended. But for those who are in the mode of goodness, transcendental worship of Vishnu is recommended. But ultimately, all yagnas are meant for gradual promotion to the transcendental position, as we discussed in the last verse. For ordinary men, at least 5 yagnas known as Panchamaha yagna are necessary. So this is actually what was, if I'm not wrong, this is what was given by Shankaracharya, Panchamaha yagna. Or I don't know, maybe it's called Panchasuna. I don't know if it is the same. Okay. One should know, however, that all the necessities of life that the human society requires are supplied by the demigod agents of the Lord. No one can manufacture anything. Take, for example, all the eatables of human society. These eatables include grains, fruits, vegetables, milk, sugar, etc. for the persons in the mode of goodness, and also eatables for the non-vegetarians, like meats, none of which can be manufactured by men. Then again, take for example, heat, light, water, air, etc., which are also necessities of life. None of them can be manufactured by the human society. Without the Supreme Lord, there can be no profuse sunlight, moonlight, rainfall, breeze, etc., without which no one can live. Obviously, our life is dependent on supplies from the Lord. Even for our manufacturing enterprises, we require so many raw materials like metal, sulfur, mercury, manganese, and so many essentials, all of which are supplied by the agents of the Lord, with the purpose that we should make proper use of them to keep ourselves fit and healthy for the purpose of self-realization, leading to the ultimate goal of life, namely liberation from material struggle for existence. So whatever we do, we should do only for this. This is what even Bhagavatam says, that is self-preservation is what we require, so that we can pursue the goal of life, not sense gratification. This aim of life is attained by performance of yagnas. If you forget the purpose of human life and simply take supplies from the agents of the Lord for sense gratification, as it is being done today by most people in this world, and become more and more entangled in material existence, which is not the purpose of creation, because purpose of creation is to get liberated from this. Certainly we become thieves. So most of the population in modern Kali Yuga are thieves, and therefore they are punished by the laws of material nature. What else do we expect? A society of thieves can never be happy because they have no aim in life. The gross materialist thieves have no ultimate goal of life. They are simply directed to sense gratification, nor do they have knowledge of how to perform yajnas. Lord Chaitanya, however, inaugurated the easiest performance of yajna, namely Sankirtan yajna, which can be performed by anyone in the world who accepts the principles of Krishna consciousness. See, this is most critical. This is what we have to tell people when we preach. Everybody's thieves, becoming thieves, so they'll be punished. Now, society, how can a society of thieves be ever happy? So this is the line of, preaching for non-devotees. Saying you want happy, you want to be free from all suffering. How can it be possible if you are thieves? And because you're not doing anything to satisfy any of the superior authorities. Right? So then the only option is to actually come to Krishna consciousness. Otherwise we remain as thieves and then suffer. Yagnashishtasina 3.13. Yagnashishtasina santo muchante sarva kilbishai punjate te tvagam papam epachante atmakaranat. The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal enjoyment verily eat only sin. So it says released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first. So by eating prasadam, we become released from all kinds of sins. And the devotees of the Supreme Lord, or the persons who are in Krishna consciousness, are called santas. And they are always in love with the Lord, as it is described in Brahma Samhita. Preman janachurita bhakti vilochanena santas sadaiva hrudayeshu vilokayanti. The santas, being always in compact of love with the Supreme Person of Godhead, Govinda, the giver of all pleasures, or Mukunda, the giver of liberation, or Krishna, the all attractive person, cannot accept anything without first offering it to the Supreme Person, because they are in love with the Supreme Lord. Therefore, such devotees always perform yajnas in different modes of devotional service, such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Archanam, etc. And these performances of yajnas keep them always aloof from all kinds of contamination of sinful association. So Prabhupada is saying, by engaging in devotional service and avoiding asatsanga, basically, one becomes aloof from all kinds of contamination. Others who prepare food for self or sense gratification are not only thieves, but also eaters of all kinds of sins. Because already in the previous verse, such people are called thieves. Now, one more adjective. They're not just thieves, they're also eaters of all kinds of sins. Because they're eating only sin. How can a person be happy if he's both a thief and is sinful? It is not possible. Therefore, in order for people to become happy in all respects, they must be taught to perform the easy process of Sankirtan Yajna in full Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada says in full Krishna consciousness, not semi-Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, there can be no peace or happiness in the world. So even if practicing devotees are not doing it in full Krishna consciousness, they won't be happy in all respects. So this is so beautiful for devotees to understand the importance of devotional service, prasadam. 3.14. Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyadanna sambhavaha yagnad bhavati parjanyo yagnas karma samudbhavaha. All living bodies subsist on food grains which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yagna. Yagna is born of prescribed duties. So this is very nice. Again, varnashrama, karma yoga, yagna is born of prescribed duties. That means that if one does that prescribed duties properly, that itself is yagna. So which means by doing that, they are not only pleasing demigods, because they please demigods, then rains are produced, then grains are produced, everything is produced. And so everything is linked. In, like I said, in Varnashrama system, everything is linked. So if we simply do our work properly, our allotted work properly, then one can live happily, could live happily. But now, anyway, Varnashrama is gone, so only our hope is Sankirtan Yagna. Sri Baladev Vidyabhushana, a great commentator on the Bhagavad Gita, writes as follows. Ye indradi angataya vastitam yagnam sarveshwaram vishnum abhyarcha tachesham ashnanti tena tad deha yatram sampadayanti te santah sarveshwarasya yagna purushasya bhaktaha sarva kilbishair anadi kala vivrutthair atmanubhava pratibandhakair nikhilai papair vimuchante. The Supreme Lord, who is known as Yagna Purusha, or the personal beneficiary of all sacrifices, is the master of all the demigods, who serve him as different limbs of the body, serve the whole. Demigods like Indra, Chandra, and Varuna are appointed officers who manage material affairs, and the Vedas direct sacrifices to satisfy these demigods so that they may be pleased to supply air, light, and water sufficiently to produce food grains. When Lord Krishna is worshipped, the demigods who are different limbs of the Lord are also automatically worshipped. Therefore, there is no separate need to worship the demigods. For this reason, the devotees of the Lord who are in Krishna consciousness offer food to Krishna and then eat, a process which nourishes the body spiritually. By such action, not only are past sinful reactions in the body vanquished, but the body becomes immunized to all contamination of material nature. See, this is important. Actually, if we are properly cooking bhoga in the right consciousness and like Lord is accepting it and we are eating prasadam, then we should experience this. Not only our past reactions should be vanquished, but also we should become immune to all contamination of material nature. So that means that basically even bodily problems we should not experience. When there is when there is an epidemic disease, an antiseptic vaccine protects a person from the attack of such a epidemic. Similarly, food offered to Lord Vishnu and then taken by us makes us sufficiently resistant to material affection. So if we take prasadam, we don't get stuck materially also. And one who is accustomed to this practice is called a devotee of the Lord. So Prabhupada is saying two things here. One is in the body also becomes immunized. Then in some sense, mind also, because we become resistant to material affection. That means we don't get attracted to material things externally also. Body also becomes immune. So multiple benefits. Therefore, a person in Krishna consciousness who eats only food offered to Krishna can counteract all reactions of past material infections, which are impediments to the progress of self-realization. On the other hand, one who does not do so continues to increase the volume of sinful action, and this prepares the next body to resemble hogs and dogs, to suffer the resultant reactions of all sins. The material world is full of contaminations, and one who is immunized by accepting prasadam of the Lord, food offered to Vishnu, is saved from the attack, whereas one who does not do so becomes subjected to contamination. So, protection from all contamination, bodily and mental, is to have Krishna prasadam. So, Mataji's especially cooking should be done with utmost consciousness, because that only decides whether the food offered becomes prasadam or not, in some sense, because if it's not done with love and affection, then we are forcing it, right? Saying, oh, okay, I'm initiated, so I'm giving to my guru to offer it. My guru is a pure devotee, so Krishna will accept. Yeah, but it is not done with love and affection, so it's not the topmost. So we should cook with love and affection, offer with love and affection. Then Guru also, who is a pure devotee, then will offer with love and affection, and then it is prasadam. And then when we honor such prasadam, then both bodily and mentally we should become free from all contaminations of material nature. Food grains or vegetables are factually eatables. The human being eats different kinds of food grains, vegetables, fruits, etc. And the animals eat the refuse of the food grains and vegetables, grass, plants, etc. Human beings who are accustomed to eating meat and flesh must also depend on the production of vegetation in order to eat the animals. Therefore, ultimately, we have to depend on the production of field and not on the production of big factories. The field production is due to sufficient rain from the sky, and such rains are controlled by demigods like Indra, sun, moon, etc. And they're all servants of the Lord. The Lord can be satisfied by sacrifices. Therefore, one who cannot perform them will find himself in scarcity. That is the law of nature. So if one performs yagna, then they should not find themselves in scarcity. Yagna, especially Sankirtan yagna prescribed for this age, must therefore be performed to save us at least from scarcity of food supply. Save us at least from. Of course, it will take us to back to Godhead. But once like somebody came, Hyderabad, there's a drought. People came and asked Prabhupada, give us some, like Lakshmi, because we have so many people are affected. Prabhupada said, no, we'll do Sankirtan. You want rain, right? We'll do Sankirtan. And then we do Sankirtan and there's rain. So then at least food supply will happen. So even those who are eating, they might not really be devotees, but they will at least, it will at least take care of their food problem. So power of Sankirtan Yagna. That is why, we should actually do Sankirtan Yagna, which is the Yoga Dharma. But mostly we are just doing personal sadhana as devotees. So it's very unfortunate that it is Sankirtan Yagna. So we should be preaching, but we are indoors. So what to do? All of us have to pray that we can preach. Of course, Sankirtana, we can preach. Preaching is to individual people, etc. But if you can do Sankirtan, a lot of other people also will get attracted. People who might not be, people who are working on the streets, some laborers. So many people will get benefited by doing Sankirtan Yagna. So we should go on the streets. Initially, whole of Krishna consciousness was spread because of Sankirtana Yagna. So we should go out and chant the holy names of the Lord loudly and give an opportunity for other unfortunate people to actually hear the Lord's holy name. So we should all try in our own area. Say, actually, this is preaching. If we are able to go out and chant Lord's holy name, then that is preaching. Automatically, people will come and say, hey, what is this? What is going on? Then we should distribute some books. We should give some prasadam if possible. That's it. In fact, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he recommended that every grihastha a house becomes a temple, which means that he uses his earning, invites people, neighbors, friends, even maybe strangers, for evening of kirtan, little bit of hearing and prasadam. That's it. And that's all. And the grihastha life becomes perfect. Even if you are not like some big preachers, it's okay. It doesn't matter. We can simply do this small looking little service, and that will please the Lord. So Sankirtana has to be done either at home, outside, somehow just congregate people and do Sankirtana. Okay, any questions? Anybody has any thoughts?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, in current society, we are seeing all these companies and corporate sector, and it looks like nobody cares about God. It's all godless society. But still, they are very successful and building companies worth billions of dollars. And we don't see them suffer till they are dying and their successors are running the business successfully.
What is the question?
So how to understand? You are telling that
past life.
Without offering to Krishna, it's all sinful and we suffer.
Yeah, past life. No, so they have done some good work in the. See, basically, Janma Ishwarya Sutashri. So you get good Janma, you get good, you become good looking, you have knowledge, you're wealthy. No, all this just means that you've done some good work in the past. That doesn't mean that it's going to remain in the next life. Right? If you take advantage of all that and live a sinful life this life, next time around you'll suffer. Simple. Right? And that is the reason actually why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, saying somebody who's started yoga but doesn't complete, he gets opportunity to be born in an aristocratic family. Idea why aristocratic family? Because he doesn't have to worry about his stomach, his existence. He knows his food is taken care, stay is taken care. He can just focus on furthering his devotional service. But most people, and even Bhagavatam says, those who are, what was I reading? Those who have wealth, position, etc., but who are not puffed up by that, are actually favored by the Supreme Lord. Which means that if somebody has all this and they are not, stuck and taking the wrong route and, wasting their life, that means that they are really favored by the Lord. And such people will not waste their life. Such people will, in spite of getting good birth, wealth, etc., they will use it in Sattva Guna. They will live a sattvic life. They'll do charity, this, that, and all that, so that next life is again taken care. But anyway, all this is useless because ultimately one has to come to Krishna consciousness. And the faster we come to Krishna consciousness, the better, because everything else is a very slow process. No, but that doesn't mean all these rogues and politicians, who are really looting people. We can be rest assured, right? Like what will happen to them in the next life. One of our past politicians, what did he become? He became a dog, right? So this is, this is known information. What they live now is not a result of their present life karma. That is the reason why we keep saying that don't think that you are, by doing whatever work you're doing, you're changing the condition of your life. No, you can't change the condition of your life. That's predetermined. Whatever you're doing today is actually only going to be beneficial or detrimental in your next life. So if you're working, slogging like, one is slogging like donkeys, then it's not that it's going to change this life, but it will definitely make sure that one can become a donkey in the next life. This is what Prabhupada says, right? Live like hogs and dogs, become hogs and dogs in next life. That's all.
Yes, true. But when it comes to try to convince people on the urgency and importance of following Krishna consciousness, immediate question comes: who knows if there is next life, or who is seeing? We
Yeah,
don't
that is
see
very
any, we
simple
don't remember.
to argue, no? See, okay, let's open this up. So today, let me stop this recording, because this is now, we will do a practical preaching session now.